Hello everyone, my name is Tony Joy. I am a Pro Audio Solutions Specialist with Avid. Today, I want to share with you how Pro Tools Carbon changed my music production workflow almost upside down in the most beautiful way, and how it can change your workflow too. We will be looking at a small Pro Tools session I made, and thanks to the new folder track option, I am able to show you both the before Carbon version and the after Carbon version. So the Pro Tools session that we are about to look at, I was working on it before I received the Carbon unit. There is some things I was doing differently before I got Carbon, and now in the second folder, I have the same session duplicated, right? So that is one of the great things about folder tracks. You can have multiple revisions or even versions of the same song or the same mix in the same session, just hidden into different folders. In this case, I have a before folder, which I'm gonna open up so we can take a quick look. And then right below it, so let me close this folder, and right below it, I actually have a folder which uses Carbon. Both are the exact same tracks, mostly the same plugins, but I will show you what I did differently once I received the Carbon unit. So first, let's play back the session real quick. And while we play back, I will be muting and soloing one after the other so we can more or less A-B the difference. Keep in mind, this is not a fully produced session. This is a writing session that I'm working on. I have been working on and I continue to work on. So this is a session that is in progress. And even then, let us see what a difference Carbon can make. So, as we can see and hear, there is a huge difference between these two sessions or these two folders, right? As I explained before, I am using the exact same instruments, same performance, and for most parts, the same plugins too. So let us take a quick look at the mix window. So what I have done is, this is the before folder and the before session, if you will. If you notice here, I have disabled some plugins. I left them there just so you know what I added in the Carbon folder. So you might ask, why can I not turn on these plugins, right, without Carbon? Well, all these three plugins, the BX Console plugin, the ML1, the SPL Iron, all these are processor intense plugins, some with lookahead functionality as well. What this means is that if I activate them, they will add so much latency, I won't be able to program music anymore. I won't be able to work on the session creatively to write music. Yes, I can mix like that, but there's no way I can continue to produce with multiple sub buses downstream. On the other hand, if I have Carbon active on that, in the next session, let's open up Carbon. So now if we look at the same session, but with Carbon, I can turn on the DSP mode and all these plugins now live or move to the DSP that is built into Carbon. That means there's no latency. There's no audible latency. They work like hardware devices. So that is one of the biggest changes I made in the session. So going back to the before folder. So I couldn't use all these plugins. I could not have sub busing happening in my session until I got Carbon. That was one of the biggest changes. So we have the kit sub bus and the percussion sub bus, all that could not use any plugins before. In fact, I did not even have a sub bus before because what's the point? It is going to add even more latency to my path. I usually add sub buses when I was mixing, But now, thanks to Carbon, I can bring in my mix topology all the way to my writing session. This is huge when you think about it. When you're writing music, when you're creating music, you want it to sound like it's a mixed and mastered track. And that has always been the roadblock, right? With any interface you take, yes, our CPUs are much faster, but they do not have the DSP power it takes to give you sub millisecond latency. And this is precisely what Carbon delivers. So, going back to our session, with Carbon, all this is not inactive anymore, right? In the other folder, as we saw, all that is active. Same with other plugins. So even with my mix bus, I can have all these usually CPU intensive plugins that will cause so much latency that I could never even dream about having in my writing session. I can have that with Carbon. So I'm going to close the before folder and open up the Carbon folder. Now I have all of these things active, and that's the difference we heard when I was A-Bing between these two folders, right? It's the exact same tracks, mostly the same plugins, but just 5 or 6 plugins that live in Carbon's DSP makes all that day and night difference. Now, last but not the least, I have Immerse Virtual Studio, which means I can take a picture of my ear and choose which headphones I will be using for the session, right? And once I do that, I can choose which studio I want to be in, which monitors I want to listen through, and then I put my headphones on. I am teleported to that studio. It is something you have to try and take a listen to believe it. It is phenomenal. Now, last but not the least, we spoke about plugins, we spoke about latency. What if I have outboard gear? This is the last magical trick I used in my session. So, with Carbon, it is so easy that I can plug in my DB25 snakes to the back of Carbon and then have my dangerous compressor here and the Elysia compressor brought into the session with just one click. So in this case, all I had to do was come in here, select my IO and select Elysia or dangerous. That simple. And now when I hit playback, bam, it works, right? It is so magical. Like, okay, I feel like I should add my dangerous compress to my rhythm bus. One click, insert it, and I'm ready to go and mix, change the parameters. And when I'm playing the session, let me mute my monitors. When I'm playing back my session, I can even monitor, okay, is it going in too hot into my compressors, or is it coming out too hot from my external outboard gear? All with one touch or just a glance, I know my gain staging is optimal. I know it is going to sound good. I know I will have sub-millisecond latency. I can close my eyes, wear my headphones, and be teleported to a different studio, all in one rack mount unit device. It is unbelievable. I highly recommend you test drive the unit and see and find out for yourself. Thank you so much.